most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to Question Reality. Question Reality with Priscilla Leona. Priscilla Leona. Only on LA Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome to Question Reality. I'm your host, Priscilla Leona, and we are coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. Our show is broadcast every Sunday from 5 p.m. to 5:50 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, if this is your first time tuning in, our show will hopefully help you to question your career reality. Now, this show is for you if you were, are, or might be considering a career in the entertainment industry. Our guests will provide advice and tips and resource information to let you know how and what it takes to successfully pursue a career in show business. Now, our guests work in various professions of entertainment, so that means that we will definitely have someone on the show sooner or later from a career that you are interested. You have to listen every single week for the rest of your life. If you want to check out our past guests, read their bios, listen to their interview instantly, and download one of the shows, go to the LA Talk Radio website. That's latalkradio.com. Click on the link at the top of the website. It says Channel 1. Scroll down, look for the graphic of our show, Question Reality, and just click the link. And this takes you directly to my archive page where you can view a list of all of the past guests. Now, our shows are also available for download on iTunes under the podcast section, and we're also on a website called Stitcher. Just type in Question Reality Radio in the search box, and you should be able to find us from 2008 until today. Still going strong. Attack of the show. If you want to find out about future guests, visit the official Question Reality website. And that address is questionrealityshow.com, questionrealityshow.com. And that has all of the guests from the rest of the year all the way until June of next year. And we have fantastic guests. We got some really, really exciting people coming up. As always, I don't even let anybody on the show if they're not exciting. I just say no. We can't go. Now, today, we have a fantastic guest for you. As always, his name is David Reddish, and I love that name. He is a novelist, and he's a screenwriter. And let me just give you his website address now. So while I'm reading you his little bio, you can go to his website and check it out. It is sexdrugssuperheroes.wordpress.com. sexdrugssuperheroes.wordpress.com. I love that. That's exactly what I was into in the 80s. That sounds good. Okay. Now, David, first of all, before we get into it, happy Halloween, everybody. You know, if you've been listening to the show, a faithful fan, you know that I love the holidays starting October the 1st. The tinglies come. Very exciting. And by the time Halloween gets here, I am all a Twitter. So happy Halloween. I hope you enjoy the holidays as much as I do, starting with my favorite happy Halloween. Yeah, Halloween. So Halloween is coming. So let me know, send me some emails and let me know which you are going to be dressed as so that I can post them on the website and take pictures, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Now, today, David Reddish is going to be talking about his latest book. He is the award-winning author of Sex, Drugs, and Superheroes, and there's a continuation to that. It's a savage journey into the wretched hive of scum and supervillainy. Now, I wonder if he could fit any more words on the book because there's a lot of words. I don't know. I think he ran out of space and he had to stop. Now, David has also written Sycophant, Embellishment, Algonquin Hills, and Leopard Messiah. I love these names. These sound like some really cool songs. They sound like names for songs, or they could be movies. So it can go either way. I love these names. And he also wrote a television sitcom called The Temps. And David has won awards for his political activism with the Stonewall Young Democrats, as well as pop culture acclaim for his fashion design work, ranging from grunge rock to cyberpunk chic. My God, what's going on in this man's mind? We're going to find out. David, what is going on with you?
Hey, Priscilla, what's going on?
I don't know. You sound like you've got a million things just twirling around in your mind.
Well, that's because I'm a mental patient. It's a problem, but I endure.
Well, I saw a photo of you. We're doing this, if anyone wants to know, we're doing this show remote because I fell and cracked my kneecap, so we couldn't have David in the radio station today. But I saw a photo of you, and you had orange hair, like perfect Halloween orange hair. So my first question is, are you still rocking the orange hair?
Well, it's actually red. I think the technical color is devil, is what the beautician told me. But it's definitely very, very red right now.
Yeah, it was like a little orangey red. It looked a little orange on the website, so I wasn't sure. Yeah. So it's like a red. So I love that. Now, is that your color all year round, or was that a pre-Halloween color? Because I like that.
No, it's a pre-Halloween color. The hair kind of changes all the time, depending on my mood, depending on where I am, where I'm going. It was dark blue earlier this year, and then it was sort of light blue, and now it's we may get there by the end of the year. You never know. I've thought about purple.
Pink for Easter. Come on, you should have a color every month.
I did pink once when I was in college. I don't know if I can do pink again. People just look at you a little too weird.
So there is a limit that you...
There's a limit, yes. It's way out there, but it is there.
There are boundaries that David Reddish will not cross. Now, I have heard that you are known for your brash, outspoken manner and eccentric behavior. So that's why I asked about your hair. So now we know you're not on the scale 10 eccentric because you won't rock the pink anymore. So, all right, we know that there's hope for you now, David. Okay, so here's a question that we start out with every week. Yeah. When you were a child, when little David Reddish was rocking his natural hair color as a child, what did you want to be? What everybody wants to be something, a doctor, a lawyer, a cop, a porn star. What did you want to be as a child?
Well, that's interesting because in the first place I was bald as a child. I did not grow hair until I was about 3 years old, and I looked like an alien baby.
What do you mean? Where was your hair?
I just didn't have any. I was like this freakish alien baby, mutant Chernobyl something child, and eventually I got hair. Fortunately by the time I started school. And I showed an early interest in science. I had a thing for test tubes, possibly because they're phallic, possibly not. I don't know.
Lord. Well, I read that what I found fascinating about you was that you demonstrated early verbal gifts, like first speaking in complete sentences at 9 months old, and then I think you were able to read by age 1 and 1.5 or something. And by five, you were writing short stories and plays. What is going on over there? What did your parents produce?
Well, you'll have to ask them about.
You are a genius.
I don't know if I'm a genius or if I'm just a freak or maybe some combination thereof. But no, I mean, all that's true, and it seems ridiculous to believe, and I didn't believe it until I found the original home movies of me at something like 9 months old, sitting in front of the refrigerator, and my parents would spell out words, and they would say, "What letter is that?" And I would say, "Oh, it's B." And I would speak in complete sentences. And they'd turn the fan on. It's hot in here.
Did your mom do work with you while you were in the womb? Or did she play classical music or read stories or do anything to prep you to be able to talk? No, I'm serious. I'm very curious about this, for real.
Well, I'm sure.
I've never heard of this in my life.
Knowing her, she probably did. My mom has her master's in childhood development, so she probably did do something freakish and Freudian that's going to haunt me for life.
And she might have been rocking some herbs or something, like some, some stuff to kind of enhance your mental ability.
I don't know. She always says she cooks fast because she knows when she got pregnant and I was born at 7 months, fully developed. So
7 months, fully developed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a freak child. I was. It's frightening.
Now, did you ever do any research to find out how many other children in the world could read by age 1? And by age 5, I mean, we know Beethoven and blah, 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 but I don't know if he talked. He wrote, but I don't know if he was talking.
I don't know. Is that something that's documented? I don't know.
See, I thought maybe you would want to look that up to see just what genius category you're actually in. I'm going to look it up, and I'll let you know. I'll send you an email. I'm going to have to do some research on you right now. I'm going to have to report you, too.
Please do.
I'm going to report you. Okay, so when you're as a child, we never got to it. Was there something that you wanted to do? Did you want to be like, a lawyer, a doctor, or something like that? Did you see yourself as doing that, or you just because you were writing, so maybe you saw yourself right away as a writer?
Well, I mean, the writing, it's funny. I never saw myself as a writer, certainly not at that early age. Writing is something that I've always done. Reading is something that I've always done, but it was never. I never thought that I was going to do that with my life. I initially showed an interest in science, and then somewhere along the way was sort of recruited to be a child actor. I did a lot of theater growing up. Mm-hmm. And television as well. Had some very high-profile roles, and it was a lot of fun.
Stop it! I love sitcoms. I'm a sitcom reality television fanatic. What shows were you on? Give me the scoop.
Well, I was only on the sort of local stuff in Chicago. I mean, it was more commercials that I did. I don't think I ever did anything scripted on television until I was older, until I was about in high school. And then it was just kind of local Chicago TV. It was never anything that was sort of syndicated beyond that. Possibly because I was an ugly teenager. I don't know.
Now, when you were age 5 and you were already writing short stories, what in the heck does a 5-year-old write as a short story? I just keep going back to this. I just can't get beyond it. What were you writing? Do you still have your writings?
Yeah, I did. Homoerotic prose, actually. It was seriously. Oh, yeah. I wrote the first... Prose?
Did you say
homoerotic prose, short stories from a 5-year-old? Yeah.
Wow.
And if that seems frightening, it's because it is. And that's another. And my mom held on to it. That's the thing. My mom put it in my baby book. Oh, look, my baby's writing stories. Forget that he's 5 years old and writing about meeting the man of his dreams, but that's true. I did.
Well, wait a minute. Were you just writing stories, or were you in full whack-a-mode?
Well, I was not whack-a-mole yet. I was just writing stories.
Doing any whacking, any Vaseline therapy at 5 years old, right?
Oh, no. I was so sexually repressed growing up. It was dreadful. I won't disclose the actual age at which I lost my virginity or at which I learned to self-gratify, shall we say. But it was late.
That's ironic.
It was late in the game.
Because your mom was got a master's in child development psychology. So is that normal for a child to be sexually repressed when the household has someone that's so, I guess, intellectually advanced in that particular area?
Well, I don't know, and that's something I never discussed with my mom because I don't know that she's exactly what you would call a reliable source in the matter. You know, it's sort of like she doesn't want to think of herself as the mommy dearest, frightening, you know, sort of whatever she is, or my dad, who was definitely very there and very present. Neither of them want to think about that. They're just like, oh, he just sort of came out gay one day. And he's scary and dyes his hair strange colors, gets piercings in strange places, and writes books. Okay, we'll go with it.
Well, that's
okay.
Now, why did you? When and why did you begin writing? You know, I know early, but I'm talking about like for professionally.
Well, professionally, I started writing. I mean, writing is something that I've always done. I have journals going back to, you know, when I was little, short stories, you know, plays, whatever that I wrote, you know, sort of growing up. But I never thought of writing as a career until I was much, much older. It was sort of after I'd done the acting as a kid and then all the way through my teen years and realized I wasn't that great at it. But that it wasn't really satisfying anymore. And so I just thought, no, well, why don't I try writing then? Until I started writing scripts. And those didn't really, you know, go anywhere. They didn't generate a lot of income in terms of my career. And a friend of mine, the author Tyler Compton, actually suggested to me, well, why don't you try writing a novel? Because he had more luck writing novels than he had. He was a television writer. And he'd had more luck writing novels than he had writing for TV. And at the same time, this shows you how big a nerd that I am, I read the memoir of Nicholas Meyer, who directed Star Trek II. Oh. And he had done the same thing. He was actually a screenwriter that he had no luck selling a script. And there was a writer's strike, so that meant that he couldn't write a script for television or for film, so he decided to go write a novel. And it went to #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Mm-hmm. And that, more than anything he had done prior, had the biggest effect on his career. That's what got him his first screenwriting job, and from that, his first directing job, and he's had a great career ever since.
Now, you got your degree in film from the University of Central Florida. So, did you when you first started college, was your goal to get a degree in film so that you could be a screenwriter?
Well, no. It was originally, I did a lot of emphasis on film theory and criticism, thinking, well, maybe I'll be a film critic. To pay $20,000 a year to go watch movies all day long, that's not bad for a major, and you get a degree at the end of it. Mm-hmm. You know how it is. But it was never. I never thought seriously, towards the end of my college career, I developed a very strong relationship with Barry Sandler, who's a screenwriter of note, who was my mentor, who said, you really need to go to Los Angeles and you need to do this, because if you don't, you're wasting your time. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, I don't know where else I'm going to go, so why not? I'll go do it. And one thing just sort of led to another, and here I am.
So you got your degree in Florida. You came out here. What did you do first when you came out here?
Starved would be the big thing. I starved for many, many years, and I did
what type of jobs did you have that supplemented your income while you pursued your career in writing? What are some of the jobs that you had?
I worked at a real estate firm.
Mm-hmm.
That was, in the midst of this sort of real estate boom in 2003, 2004. That was really interesting and sort of tormenting. I worked I was a personal assistant to a woman who ran a company that did class reunions. That was bizarre, but it also paid the bills. And then I did a lot of contract and temporary work for some of the major studios. I won't say which ones.
No.
But,
what type of jobs would you, looking back in retrospect, what type of jobs would you say most benefited you to help you with your writing career, and as to give advice to aspiring writers who come out here because you have to supplement your income? What type of jobs do you feel benefited you the most, and why don't you name some jobs that you think would help people who are aspiring writers work a job but yet still have time to partake in the creative process of writing?
Well, that's a really interesting question, because I don't know that the answer is necessarily the same for both questions. I definitely was more influenced by working outside of the entertainment industry in terms of my writing. In terms of the people that I met, the sort of family lives that they led, their personalities, their very, very frightening personality disorders, all of that really enriched my sort of my spectrum in terms of the characters that I create, because that's the best thing for a writer to do, I think, is to go do things that are outrageous and meet people that are outrageous, and constantly sort of expand your bubble, your sphere of reality. You just go out there and meet people, because that, when you meet someone that is unlike anyone you've ever known, that blows your mind, that has a greater impact than meeting people who are all the same.
Yeah, I've never really understood that, because I have heard, and I also know of writers who lock themselves away like for weekends, and they go up to the mountains, and then they're always writing. They don't go to parties, they don't go out and meet people. And I'm like, how do you get life experience if you're always locked away? But it sometimes work. I mean, I think Carpenter, isn't it Carpenter, horror writers, that's what he does, and he's famous. So what do you think that there's a secret to get the best novel out of you? How do you know what is the best thing for you to be able to get that creative juice going, or to get your material? Is it different for each person, or what are some things you can do to try to test yourself to find out what the best thing is for you?
And know thyself. I mean, know what your limits are, and know what kind of environment it takes for you to be productive. In my case, the work that I've done in the entertainment industry, doing temp work when I started out, allowed me to meet other creative people, which I always find very, very stimulating. If for no other reason, but they just sort of give you a sort of kick in the butt to go out there and, all right, create something, go. It's competitive on some, level. It's like, well, if that guy's out there doing this, I've got to, I got to go get out there and do something great myself. That's great. And the temporary work, the nice thing about that was I didn't work all the time. And so while I was starving, I had plenty of time to go off and write a novel. Everybody's different. Some people work better under pressure and under deadlines. Other people need to take their time. For me, I like to set goals. I think it's important to set personal goals of, I am going to have this done by X day. I will write this many pages today at my computer, before I get up and do anything else. That's sort of the way that I work. Is I will wake up and I will go straight to the computer and I will start writing, and will sort of intermittently go up to eat something or go to the bathroom, but will not do anything else until I am at 5 pages or 8 pages or whatever it is, or until I'm satisfied that, all right, this is good, this works, this is workable. It may need editing later, but okay, I have something. So
a lot of writers talk about having a muse.
Yeah.
Tell me, have you ever had a muse? And if you haven't, is it because maybe you had one and you didn't know it, or do you seek out a muse, or how does one get their muse when they're at their low point?
Wow. I've never been consciously aware of a muse that I have had personally. There are people and places and things that have inspired me, and I definitely seek those out. I'm always looking for interesting people, for odd people, for crazy people, because those resonate more than the general populace. Mm-hmm. They're not necessarily stable or the healthiest people per se, to be completely frank, but they're going to leave an impression.
I know. It's so, one of the things my mother said, I grew up in a household, my mom's a doctor, and she's like, oh my God, Priscilla, why do you hang out with the derelicts of society? If there's somebody that is homeless, somebody that's poor, a sociopath, they are all coming to your party, aren't they? And I'm like, yes, they are, because they're so much more interesting. I grew up in a small town in Connecticut, so they're so much more interesting than the people in my town. As soon as I could escape my town, I was like, Mom, I'm going to college in another city, and I'm going to hang out with every bohemian and renegade I can get my hands on. They're much more interesting. So I really love that you said that. I mean, I find so many people to be I've had many muses in my lifetime, because it's somebody that really for me personally, it makes me want to do something. I think a muse is anyone who really inspires you, even if it's to make you feel competitive in your own field. I feel that can be your muse. I got that question in the email a while back, and they said, everybody seems to have... Hello? Hello, Priscilla. Oh my gosh. I guess we dropped a call. I don't know where we were. What was the last thing I said? What was I talking about?
Well, you were talking about growing up in a sort of, I think, sterile household under the watchful eye of your mother in a small town. And that's something I can certainly identify with, because I grew up in a town of 3,000 people in rural Illinois, and I had the same sort of impulse that you did. As soon as I got to college, it was, I am going to find the most bizarre, frightening people, because I feel a kinship with them. I don't feel, I don't feel a sort of identification with the people who are just kind of, I'm going to sit home and watch the TiVo tonight. I was always out with artists, and artists are crazy, crazy people. But you're talking about a muse. I admire the people that I met during that period so much, even though, some of them had drug problems, other substance problems, they were sex addicts, or they were just, outright nuts.
How do you learn about life if you don't experience these people? Then you become rigid and self-righteous and judgmental and critical. If you're left to one group of people, I personally believe that is how you're going to be molded. I really do. I think that the more experience that you have with diverse cultures and ethnicities, that is when you really get your spice on. Like, if you want to be a writer, in my personal opinion, and God knows I'm not a writer, but I think that the more that you get out there and experiment with different types of people. However, please don't give them your social security number or your address, because we do have our con artists and our scam artists. I mean, David, there are people out there. I mean, I'm saying hang out with all different types of people, but you do have to have some common sense about it. There are some con artists out there and scam artists that are so good that you don't even know that they're doing it to you. So David and I both agree, if you for the writers out there listening or aspiring writers, just have as many experiences as possible. Just don't do crack. Okay. All right.
No.
What do you no drugs. You don't need that. I mean, that went out in the 70s and the 80s with people saying, oh my God, I gotta, get high to write and to feel my craft and channel. No, you don't. Don't do it. You don't need to do that. Okay. So what do you feel are the biggest obstacles of being a writer?
Well, some of it's the industry. We're at kind of a transitional period, I think, for written media with the internet and with digital media, where books are going digital, where bloggers who would normally be newspaper columnists, say 30 years ago, are now they're writing for free. You can go on the internet and instead of buying a subscription to a magazine, you can read it for free. You can read Newsweek for free. They just announced that they're doing away with the written magazine, which is horribly frightening and distressing to me because I've read Newsweek from the time I was a child. Yet another freakish toddler thing that I used to do. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest obstacles are sort of understanding the industry itself. And I think the largest, and I think this is a constant throughout history, and I can only see for myself, but the biggest constant obstacle for me has been myself. It's been, self-motivation. Nobody is forcing you to do this. This isn't like you have to have your homework turned in by a certain time. This isn't like, you have to have some piece of work, some report or something done for your boss. It's you have to drive yourself. You have to sometimes be the one to get up, even when you don't want to do it, even when you just want to lay there. When everything is awful, when life is terrible, you have to be the one to get up and force yourself to do it and to say, I'm going to keep going and I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going until I just physically can't anymore. That's I think for me, that has always been the biggest thing is how do you push yourself when everything sort of is at a point of despair and nobody wants to read your work and nobody wants to represent you and nobody seems to care. It's, well, I'm going to make you care. It's my job as a writer, as an artist to get up here and make you feel something and make you pay attention. So it's finding a way to keep that going and get yourself to the point where you're able to produce something like that and to get attention with it. Those are the two. It's getting the product, getting the attention.
What do you feel are the most lucrative jobs in the writing field now? I mean, things where when you get out of college, this is where you can go to get a job as a writer, whether it's the field that you want to be in, but a field where you're going to make money, get a little experience. Because I think the days of the newspaper, and again, I don't know if I'm right or not, but I would imagine with everything being internet related now, the newspaper reporter, I don't know what they're going to do. The columnists, the newspaper writers, you know what I'm saying? It's like the writers for the physical, even the writers of the Star and the Inquirer and all my rag magazines that, yes, I do buy every week and I love them. But God knows, where are they going to go? So it's like, what are they being phased out? Is this like going the way of the dinosaur? I mean, and there's always going to be screenwriters, of course, and movie writers, but
yes,
the writers for other things. Where are the
screenwriters, the successful working screenwriters and television writers are always going to make an obscene amount of money because that's just the way that business works. Writing for something like the web, doing a YouTube series, you're not going to make as much, but that's, I think, a growing area for attention. You know, how many internet memes do we have every week now that are hysterical that everyone in the world looks at, but that doesn't necessarily translate into income. I think, personally, in terms of writing is something that you should try to do as much as you can. If you really want to be a writer, if you really want to be anything, just go do it. When you wake up in the morning, say, I'm a writer, and I'm going to go write, and go do it, you know, whether you're getting paid or not.
Well, what should their main focus be as a beginning writer? What should they be focused on? Because it's really hard to, like, say, okay, what should I do first? What do you think they should focus on?
Well, they need to focus, you know, for me, it took a while. I needed to focus on what it was that I wanted to write, what it is that you want to say, what it is that you feel, what it is that you make other people feel with your work, and what do you think can lead to a more lucrative career. The great film director John Ford once said, if you want to succeed in Hollywood, you got to do one for you got to do one for them, one for you, one for them, one for you, one for them. So sort of start out in the beginning and figure out something that is going to have a broad appeal, but something that is still personal to you, and from there say, all right, well, am I going to do something that's very personal after this, or am I going to do something that's very commercial after this? And in terms of the medium in which you sort of do that, you know, I always say if someone like Walter Winchell or if Dear Abby were starting out today, they would be bloggers. They would not be newspaper columnists. Mm-hmm. So start your own blog, start a website, and don't expect to make a lot of money in the beginning. Be prepared to starve.
Absolutely. What classes do you recommend in general for writers? Say you're in high school, you're about to go to college. What classes should people definitely take to be the best writer they can be?
Ooh, well,
definitely English composition.
Yes.
What else?
Take as many literature classes as you can.
Literature.
It's so didactic to say, but you learn as much by looking at other people's work as you do from sort of sitting in a room and saying, okay, this is a noun, this is a verb, this is how you use them together. In terms of the mechanics of writing, there are only a couple rules that you really, really need to know to be a good writer. Beyond that, you need the sense of artistry. So read Shakespeare, read Thoreau, read Fitzgerald, read Cervantes, read as many authors in as many different languages as you can. Read the Bible. Go back and read it in Greek and read it, you know, in context, and you will understand the sort of artistic point that goes with it. Take history classes. Take sociology classes. To be an artist, you need to know people. You need to know the human condition. You need to know feelings. And the more you sort of research, you have to be able to
describe them, right? Like when you read a book and the writer writes, give me something I can't think off the top of my head, but they describe like the color of the curtains and then how the leaves are blowing and the sound and the wind.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to, if you're going to be a novelist, I mean, you really have to be feeling it and experiencing it. And I would imagine there is some form, there is a basic formula that you have to have as being a writer to be a good one.
Well, in that way, that's interesting that you put it that way. In that way, it's less mechanics and it's less something that can be taught than it is something that you have to find within yourself. And again, I can only speak from my own experience, but you need to let yourself be sensitive. Doesn't that sound like something a therapist would say? Isn't that awful?
You got to get in touch with your sensitivity. Yes.
Get in touch with yourself. But it's the truth. You have to let yourself.
How are you going to describe something if you're rigid? How are you going to say?
You can't be rigid. You have to be open-minded, and you have to allow yourself to feel things that you may not necessarily want to feel, or that you may not necessarily be proud of feeling.
Yeah,
you have to have empathy. You know, understand how other people feel, how other people think. in that way, I would say sociology and psychology are two classes that benefited me through high school and college immensely in sort of understanding how people work and, again, the human condition. And when you're able to get to that, when you find yourself being moved, let that move you to write something. Let that move you to produce something. Keep the dictionary and the thesaurus there on your writing desk, or we have fine websites to do it now.
And try to eliminate saying "like" every 5 minutes. So that's my tip. You have to have a broad vocabulary. I would imagine that you're taken more seriously in the circles that you run in and in the professional networking and marketing groups if you can speak properly and you don't use colloquialisms all the time. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's right. Now you worked on occasion as a model and a go-go dancer. And
oh, God, Priscilla.
I know everything about you, son.
We're going there. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I did. I was a model. I was a go-go boy. I never showed my wang in any pictures, but
where are these? Because I am not seeing it. Stephen Levine did not send me any pictures. I am so mad at him. After this, I want you to send me an email. You're a friend on Facebook. You better send me some pictures and some video because I just can't imagine you're my little baby genius being a go-go dancer. Now, you gained notoriety as a Los Angeles socialite, from what I hear, and your circle of friends range from Poverty Row to the Hollywood A-list. So my question to you is, overall, has this helped or hurt your career, having this diverse mixture of friends? Do you mingle and bring them together? And, I'm one when I have parties, I bring them all together. I bring the poor, the rich, the tall.
Yeah.
I love it. And I was always told by my friends, Priscilla, you can't have these various groups together. They have nothing to talk about, nothing in common, and we don't want to see people or smell people at your parties. I'm like, are you kidding me? It gives you something to talk about because you have nothing else. So how does that work for you? Is that overall, has this helped or hurt your career? Or?
In truth, it's probably done a little bit of both. There is no doubt in my mind, my dear publicist, Steve Levine, that you brought up, who's absolutely amazing at his work, is someone that I met socially.
Okay.
You need to go. My screenwriting professor, when I was coming to Hollywood, I said, what advice will you give me? He said, go to every party you're invited to.
Right.
And that did not resonate. That didn't quite click with me until I was here, and I realized, okay, I'm going to go to a party, and I'm going to meet all kinds of crazy people. I'm going to meet the assistants. I'm going to meet the people that, are the neighbors that don't even know why they're there. I'm going to meet the A-list directors. I'm going to meet the strippers and the porn stars and the hookers. And all of that is true.
And you have to go to these parties as an aspiring writer. This is where you meet your potential employer. So you have to go to these things for sure. And that's what Steve does. He gets you out there and has you rolling and going to all these things. Now, I want to talk about your book. Now, first of all, I love the cover of your book. Let's give credit to who designed that cover because I love it.
The fine, talented artist who did the cover art for Sex, Drugs, and Superheroes, his name is Michael Zalowski, and he lives in Kentucky, I believe. He's no one I've ever met face-to-face. When Sex, Drugs, and Superheroes was about to come out, when it was finally finished, and I was sort of at the point where I was talking to different people and getting things together for the publicity campaign and needed cover art, I was set up with him by a friend of mine, and I sort of sent him some pictures and told him, and I sent him the manuscript, and I said, this is sort of what I had in mind. And we went round and around and around for a couple months, actually, where it wasn't right, and we were down to crunch time where I needed that cover to be ready because I think we were less than a month out, actually, from release. and I was just about to go to New York to do East Coast publicity for the pre-launch. And I said, all right, tell me what your strengths are, tell me what is hindering you in this, and let's work with it. So we talked about it, and he sent me the cover of Sex, Drugs, and Superheroes as it is now. I mean, it was a hole-in-one. I said, do it like a comic book. And he came back with it, and there it was. And I said, all right, that's perfect.
You have to give me that guy's name and number, because I'm working with another producer and writer, and we're going to do a web series for it's God, should I say? It's a superhero. I don't want to tell too much, but yeah, it's based on superheroes. So it's sort of like the Avengers thing, but it's going to be a web series. And I need a comic book illustrator, sketch artist. So send me his information. Now let's talk real quick, because we want to find out sex, drugs, and superheroes: a savage journey into the wretched hive of scum and supervillainy. What is it about? What inspired it? What is it about? We got 5 minutes. Let's rock it. Tell us.
Well, how do I sum up all of this in 5 minutes? Well, it's about geeks. It's about geeks. It's about the San Diego Comic-Con. It's sort of inspired. The first time I went to the San Diego Comic-Con was in 2004, and I met this incredible plethora of people that felt exactly the way I did, that grew up reading comic books. They always kind of felt like social outcasts. And we all bonded together, and I said, there's a story in this. And it took a much, much longer time to write it, obviously. The book is set in 2008. Sort of with all the comic book movies that we have coming out, it seems like there's a new one every other week. And, shows on television with the Avengers and The Dark Knight Rises, all of this, being huge with Oscar consideration. You have Heath Ledger winning an Academy Award for playing the Joker, which nobody would have taken seriously 10 years ago.
Right.
It's the golden age of geekdom, and so this is the time. Sex, Drugs, and Superheroes.
That's exactly what I was thinking when my writing partner and I got together, and I said, "Oh my God, you know what? We need to do something with some superheroes." So we came up with some ideas, and she wrote this fantastic web series. It is so awesome. And honestly, I don't know anything about comic books. I've never been to Comic-Con. I've never really had an interest. But now, because this is based on, because we're going to be merchandising, we're turning this into a comic book, and there's so many plans for this thing. So with the merchandising, we're going to have a comic book. We're going to have lots of T-shirts, etc., for the 5 superheroes that are going to be in this web series. Now I'm just starting to learn about this whole world, Comic-Kazi, because I had to do research. I'm like, what the hell is Comic-Kazi, Comic-Con, and now I'm on the search because we're going to have a film fundraiser, and I'm going to try to get Elvira to come, and the girl Felicia Day from the Guild, and then some comic book people. But it's like a wild world, that Comic-Con. I don't know what's going on, but is that what it's about? Aren't they doing having sex and drugs at the Comic-Con? I can't go.
Oh yes.
What's going on?
Oh, yes, there's a lot of sex and drugs at Comic-Con. Though I'm sure people will go out of their way to deny that fact. There's a lot of sex and drugs at Comic-Con. Geeks do it better than anybody else. The whole idea behind it is this sort of cross-section of this subculture of people who... Comic books are American mythology. They are the equivalent of Zeus and Hera and Thor, very literally, in fact, that Western civilization has produced in the modern era. They are all about something more than what they seem to be about. Batman is about obsession. Spider-Man is about teenage sort of angst. The X-Men are about prejudice. And going to Comic-Con and being part of the subculture of people who sort of are members of that cult, in all senses of the word, that inspired me. That's something that I take pride in as being one of them, and I think it's a story that needs to be told.
Where can we buy the book? Where is it on sale?
It is available at fine retailers, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com for digital download. And if you're lucky enough to catch me at a convention, I'm doing BentCon here in Burbank next December. It's the first weekend in December. I'll be there, and we'll probably have some hard copies that will be special edition for BentCon.
You know what I just thought of? Would you come to our film fundraiser and sign and bring some of your books and be a panelist and sign some of your books?
I'd be absolutely happy to, of course.
Oh, and then I get to meet you and stroke your lovely orange hair.
I'll make sure it's nice and long for you.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. I might put in a special request to have it pink.
Oh, wow.
All right. So, Sex, Drugs, Superheroes, if you want to find this book, you can find it on Amazon.com. They can just do Sex, Drugs, Superheroes. It'll come up, right? They don't have to remember the whole thing. Okay. So, David Reddish. David, Reddish, Sex, Drugs, Superheroes, on sale at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or you can go to his website directly, which is sexdrugssuperheroes.wordpress.com. David, the time has come. Can you believe it? This interview just flew by. And I bet you were all in fear at the beginning, thinking, what am I going to talk about? It's going to drag out. There are going to be long moments, and I don't know what to say. Everybody thinks that, and then next thing you know, they're like, oh, my God, it was like 10 minutes. What's going on? Can I ask you to come back next year and be a guest, because you're so lovely and interesting and cool that I have to have you back?
It would be an absolute honor. I will come back anytime you need me, hopefully when you're done with your Nancy Kerrigan phase, so we can meet up and hang out in the studio.
Little did I tell you, Walt Turkey had something to do with me in those 6-inch stiletto heels, I tell you. Oh, God, thank you so much, David, for being a guest on the show. Thank everybody for listening in. Please go and buy David's book. He is awesome and wild, and I bet you that there is some really good stuff in here. I'm actually going to read it, David, but you got to send me a signed copy. I want a signed copy, and I want you to put some lipstick on and kiss it and give me some big lips.
You're going to make me wear lipstick? Oh, God. No, I'm going to break out.
Wait a minute. You're the one that said that you were the one that got that label as being there was nothing that you didn't do, eccentric behavior. I'm requesting. Thank you so much, David. Sexdrugssuperheroes.wordpress.com. Say goodbye to your fans, David Reddish, until next year when you come back on my show.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Priscilla, so much for having me on. It's been terrific, and I may not kiss it in lipstick, but I will outline, and I will trace an appendage on the front cover.
Okay, that's good enough. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week on Question Reality. Goodbye. Happy Halloween.
You're listening to Question Reality. Question Reality with Priscilla Leona. Only on LA Talk Radio.